Okay, perfect. So these are roles that are more or less administering the research itself. So you are not part of the team of the principal investigator. No, you are not. Even though as a clinical research coordinator, you are part of the team, but you are not part of the scientific team. I think that should be the word. You are not part of the scientific team. You are not part of the core folks who are getting their hands dirty in dealing with the patient, in administering investigational product and all of that. So this professional summary, I would say it is weak. What you want to do in this instance is you want to speak to competencies that I shared briefly. Okay, I think this is it. I'm going to switch over. And so you want your professional summary to speak to your something like this. So I have these 3 statements here, which you can make use of. You want to quickly come off as somebody with medical knowledge, with skills and experience, work ethics, and all of that in an evidence-based clinical care. I'm choosing my words carefully, okay? You want to show that you have thorough knowledge of medical care standard, you know about public health practices, you are acquainted with applicable laws and regulations. You want to quickly show that you have a proven track record of standard operating procedures, protocols that are expected to be followed or to be used in such environments, and that you can work in a busy environment. So these are some of the examples of things that you want to show. You don't want to bring forth, oh, this is my experience as a physician. Please, let's remember that you are a doctor, you are a physician, granted, but 80, 70 perhaps % of your core skills that is needed as a physician is not required in this role. And so you don't want to be projecting all of that, because someone that is reading it, a recruiter, is wondering, how is this going to translate to you doing the exact job which you need to do? So you want to let them know that this is who I am. I have this experience. I know about work ethics. I know about evidence-based clinical care. I know about IC, HGCP, and all of that. Okay, so what are the relevant skills that you quickly want to also bring forth? You can use some of these as part of your professional summary. You can use some of these points. I have here strong working knowledge of good clinical practice. I can work independently, exercising judgment in establishing priority. So you have a whole lot of examples that I brought out there. These are relevant to this role, very, very relevant to this role. You must be able to show your the recruiter, you must be able to demonstrate on your resume that you can interpret protocols, guidelines. So essentially, you don't need to know all the science. So somebody is wondering, okay, there is a research going on, there is a clinical trial going on in oncology. Maybe I haven't worked so much in that area before. Yeah, that is granted. The most important thing is you have a science background and you can read and understand a few things. You have a knowledge of medical terminology, okay, right there. Knowledge of medical terminology, okay? When they say supine, you know what that means. When they say anterior, posterior, and a whole lot of other medical jargons, right? We can, understand the meaning of that without necessarily committing an error of judgment or interpretation. So, excellent organization skills, maintaining accurate and retrievable record. However, I need to say that if you use any of these, you must then find a way to reflect it in your job description as you will see down the line. You don't just want to throw all of these out there and say, hey, I have these relevant skills. And when I am looking at your previous, your work experience, I can't see a correlation of how you probably interpret research protocol. I'm unable to see how you maintain accurate records. Perhaps I'm unable to see a relationship between the skills that you are flaunting and the job, the work experience that you have. So there must be a connect between the skills that you are flaunting up there and the job, your work experience. So let's flip back and take a look at, where is it again? Okay, right here. Okay, so now I have this again. You have a professional summary. I have another resume just showing us some of the resumes that you are using as an example. You have your name and then you have this profile. So sometimes you can use profile instead of professional summary. Essentially, it's the same thing. That's the first thing they see after looking at your name, and they want to quickly have an idea of who you are. All right, so here I have experience and outgoing, internationally trained medical professional. I think we alluded to this in the meeting on Wednesday. Perhaps you don't want to use the word internationally trained on your resume. Just put in that you are a medical professional or you are somebody that in the industry, that is knowledgeable in the industry. So, but you will agree with me that this profile, not because of the content, but because of the structure, is better than this professional summary. So Dondo seems to be better than Scott Lind in terms of just looking at the structure, not the relevancy of the content now. Okay, so let me switch over quickly. Okay, I've got a chart. I don't think they are verified as MD docs, right? I think they are. I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't understand what the question from Lion is asking. They are verified as MD doctors. Well, I don't know. Where am I? Okay, yeah. A lot of sharing, and sometimes you get lost in where you're sharing. Okay, so next is transferable skills. So transferable skills speaks to skills that we have and we use in the clinics, for instance. Okay, so we have these skills, we use them day in, day out in the clinic as a physician, and these skills can be transferred to clinical CRC, CRA, roles. Skills can be either hard or soft. Soft skills are okay, you are highly organized, you have a good communication skill, you are a very functional team member, you collaborate with colleagues to get things done. Those are soft skills. And then you have the hard skills, which are technical skills, which means, for instance, you know how to probably obtain blood, phlebotomy, right? So that's an example of a hard skill that can easily be trained and be measured, whereas soft skills quite difficult to be measured. Okay, but whether it is hard or soft, you can still bring this skill to play in the new industry that you are interested in. And maybe I should also mention at this point that granted that we are physicians, granted that we are medical doctors and healthcare professionals, we must acknowledge the fact that changing job from being a physician of being a medical doctor to being a CRA, a CRC, is a job pivot. You are essentially changing industry in a way. Granted, it is within the same large healthcare industry, but remember that you are not doing the same thing that you used to do as before. So it is a pivot, even with maybe whether it is a hard pivot or a soft pivot. I know it's a pivot that you are changing industry in a way. Okay, this is the most critical part of our of this process. The second, panel, the lower panel, which is we must find a way to work the description of our previous experience, and this is what the whole of this session is all about. We must work the description of our previous experience to match the language of the job posting that we are applying for. That is exactly what we will get into in the next few minutes. How can we work the description of our previous work experience as a clinician, as a physician, as a medical doctor? How can we find correlation? How can we tweak it here and there and ensure that it will match what that job posting is all about? Okay? So I have here an example. So let's dive in. I have here, this is just a screen grab from the resume that I showed you earlier on, because I felt going up and down would make it a little bit tedious to do. So take a look at this. This is a typical job function that a medical doctor would do, provided medical care to pediatric and adult patients, collected patient medical data and all of that. The first bullet point. Then the second one, followed up on histopathology report. If I may ask, and I think you can put in your response in the chat room, the first bullet point here, what keyword jumps to you that is related to clinical research? I'm not saying sentence, don't write sentence. Identify one or two keywords in the first bullet point that speaks to clinical research. Okay, I have from Pelu medical data. Yes, they mean medical data, correct. So now that we have that, we are getting somewhere. Because you appreciate the fact that medical data relates to CRC, CRA. This is how, for instance, how we phrase this role, this job description. You must think of your job when you think of something that you have done. Don't think of it just because you are a professional in the field. Think of it in relation to where you are going, in relation to the role that you are applying for. So I have here, obtain, review, and document patient data. Remember, I am being a little bit careful in saying participant, because really in my hospital role, they are not participants. It is not as if they are study participant or trial participant. But again, I use what? Patient, which is something that typically a recruiter will not pay attention to, because attention will be on the fact that, oh, patient data. And we all know that whether they are patient or they are participant, or I will use extract data from patient chart in a timely manner. I've got a few charts, let me see. Collected and documented, okay? All right, so that is one of the ways by which you can look at your job description, something that you have done before, and then you look at the role that you are applying for, and you try to make the best out of it by saying, I'm not going to be speaking medical terminology. The resume that we have, make sure that we have here. This is a typical one that if you are applying for a job in a clinic or in an hospital environment, perfect. But because it is a CRC, CRA role, admin role, this is how to go about it. You want to speak to the fact that you know how to harvest data, you know how to manage data, you know how to document data obtained from patients. So let's take the second one. followed up on histopathology report and all of that. Again, can I have response on 1 or 2 keywords in the chat room from the second bullet point? Anything that comes to you, followed up on histopathology. If nothing comes to you, think of these. If you are to rephrase this to someone that is not a medical doctor, or how can you translate it? Followed up, reports. Okay, so I have collected specimen, okay, diagnosis, okay, all right. So now diagnosis will not be relevant here because, again, like I said, you are not using your clinical skills on 100% where you are seeing patients as a clinical, as a CRC, as a CRA. Your interaction with patients will be more on the administrative side, you know. Okay, so let me show you something that time management. Okay, I have somebody who interpreted it as time management, and that is good. Time management. You are looking at it and you're like, oh, how do I make this relevant to clinical research? Okay, since I let histopathology report within 24 hours, it shows that time is of essence. So I think I like that. So, okay, what about this? This is how I phrased it, looking at it. Followed up on histopathology report, I felt, okay, this activity can, you know, be interpreted to mean that I facilitate and coordinate daily activities and play a critical role in the conduct of the study. Okay, so the word study at the end may be not appropriate because you are in a clinic setting. So that word can easily be changed to something else. But the most important thing I'm trying to bring out here is, instead of, okay, you followed up on the histopathology. Why did you follow up on it? Because it is necessary to get that report, right? So it's part of your daily clinical activity, right? So you are facilitating and coordinating activities that ensure that the clinic runs smoothly, or patient get value for money, you know, that kind of a thing. So don't write it in the clinical lingua. Try to see, okay, this activity that are on this set of activities that are, you know, undertaking. How else can I translate it in an environment that is non-clinical? Okay, so the third one, so I have organized referral for patients in need of specialist care by contacting the consultant and all of that and all of that. I thought of, okay, how else can I refer to this? Schedule participant appointment and serve as a patient liaison to participating physicians. So in clinical terms or lingua, you are referring patients to specialists, to consultants. That is what you do. That is the only way you can think of it. But this is how you can also interpret it in a non-clinical setting. You schedule participant appointments, which is the same thing as, oh, you organize referral for patients. You schedule. Now, instead of specialist care, instead of consultant, that is medical lingua that we are all used to. So we need to kind of broaden our the way we think about some of these buzzwords, some of these industry-specific terminology. So instead of consultant, I decided to change it to what? Participating physicians, which is relevant in clinical research and clinical than the typical physician role, right? So again, maybe you walk in between, you are like, you get to go between the consultants and the patient. That is why I decided to use the word you have as what? Patient liaison. You have as what? Patient liaison. If you look very well, if you copy these, the last points, you know, that I have there, I won't be surprised if you find it in 1 or 2 of job posting for clinical research or clinical research coordinator. Okay, so I got a question or a comment in the chat room. consultant equals to, oh, okay. Yeah, principal, exactly. So you can put it that way. Let's make progress. So this is another work experience, a cut out from another resume. Here it says coordinated routine hypertensive and diabetic clinic days, as well as vaccination program for children and all of that. Again, typical way of describing your job in the clinic. What about this? So, not every work experience will have a parallel conversion. I look at this job description. It says coordinated routine hypertensive, diabetic clinic based vaccination and all of that. And I'm like, okay, what are the things that I routinely do in the clinic as a medical doctor? Or what would be a typical, So I have here, I handle samples with care, safety, and attention to detail. Remember earlier on that I said when you are throwing up all the relevant skills and you say, oh, you have organization, you have attention to detail. Remember I said you must reflect it in your job description. So this is the example now, I'm trying to bring this for. So you remember, so you are trying to bring attention to detail, accurate documentation. So something like that. You look at your work experience, think of another way that experience, that activity can be translated to a role in the target job description. Let me share. Okay, let's go back here. I think this is it. Yondo. All right, so let's come here. Let's take a look at this job posting. So this is a job posting. It's a clinical research coordinator role. I can tell you this role is almost, it can easily be taken for a clinical research associate role because it's so loaded that I'm wondering, except it's a senior coordinator, somebody with about 3-4 year experience, it's loaded. And so you have handle participants, okay, so take a look at this. Handle participant sample with care, safety, and attention to detail. This is the job description that I saw, and I felt we can use that working with HIV patients and reflect it in that way because it is difficult for someone to prove that you have not done this or you can't do this. When you come up and say, okay, you can handle participant samples with care, safety. As a doctor, nobody can fault you on this, but this is very transferable. And this is how you bring that experience of, okay, coordinating HIV patient or tuberculosis TB patient or hypertensive patient and doing all of that you readily write or present in a clinical centric way. This is another way of showing relevance to job posting. So let's take a look at one more. This, I think we can use this. Point number 6, right? Perform specific protocol assessment and procedure as trained and delegated by PI, including interviewing subjects about medical history, investigational product, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we have this. I think I have, let me check, I think it's in one of these. Slideshow. Okay, so let's go back. All right, correct. So the bullet point in the job description or the job posting that we saw now, this is the same thing that I've in a way rephrased, and it is going to be part and parcel of your, as a medical doctor, you perform protocol assessment and procedures. I'm not being specific. You perform procedure. If you are clerking patients, you are performing a procedure. If you are taking blood sample, you are performing a procedure. If you are setting a line, you are performing a procedure. But you are not using clinical terms. You are not saying performing, setting a line, or all of that clinical terms. But you are using words in the industry. In fact, what I did was to copy exactly that posting, put it here, and rewrite it in a way that I can defend it, assuming I'm a medical doctor and I'm applying for the role. That is it. Remember that resume is to get you to interview. Resume is not going to do the whole work. When you get to the interview, they ask you questions and then you take it up from there. Perform specific assessment and procedure as trained, including interviewing subjects. You see a patient, you interact with patient. Typically, you will say you are getting medical history. I will say I'm interviewing subjects. So just changing, words here and there to speak clinical research associate terminology. So you are talking about medical history. You will see that I cross out investigational product. That is a core clinical trial terminology. Drugs that are being tested are called investigational products. So they don't call them medication, or they don't call them, drugs and all of those things. However, you can play around. It will be going too far if you use the word investigational product as a physician and you are not part of the team of principal investigator. However, you can use medication compliance, because remember that even the title of your job in that hospital or in that clinic will probably be medical doctor or physician or whatever it is. So, but the most important thing is that you are able to perform protocol assessment and procedure as trained. You are telling your recruiter that, you know what, if I have any training, I can apply it, I can use it on the job. And then medical history is relevant in trials. Compliance is important in trials. And then I added taking basic vital signs accurately. I've got a chart. If this is being recorded, please send me a copy. Okay. All right. So again, I have maintained active involvement in the implementation and utilization of electronic health record. Granted that many hospitals back home, we don't have access to electronic health record, especially public hospitals. I know most private hospitals, especially the big ones, they have electronic health record. So this is how you can bring this to bear in the role. Maintain active involvement. If you check 2-3 job posting for CRC, CRA, you are likely going to have this second point about health record and all of that. This is what will be the title of the work: experience. Okay, we'll get to that, because you need to be careful. You cannot claim what you are not. And because they know that you are private, nobody is interested in you in the title. It is what you have done. In most instances, the recruiter or the hiring manager is interested in, not the title. If under the title you put, okay, physician or medical doctor, or name it, it's your field. Unfortunately, I'm not a medical doctor, right? So it is what you claim to perform that matters, and not the title, because again, title varies across the globe. So nobody is really like, okay, if you don't bear this title, you cannot perform this role. Okay, so work experience: perform specimen processing and shipment of biological specimen duty. Okay, something like that. I think that's some mix up in this. So essentially, you obtain sample from patient. Maybe we don't do it as medical doctor, but I want us to begin to think that, yes, this is more of an administrative role, medical administration or trial administration or study administration. than core physician role, right? So just put it there. Because the point is, if that maid in the hospital is not around and the patient needs to get the sample, to the laboratory, perhaps you will do it. Assuming the patient is your relative, you will probably know that you won't wait for a maid to get the sample to the next point of analysis. Okay, so and it is not out of scope of a medical doctor to do that, especially in emergency situation or if you find yourself in a situation where you don't have other supporting staff to do such for you. Okay. So next you have something like assist with study materials, but not limited to informed consent documentation, case report form, and all of that. Demonstrate good clinical practice. So these are examples of work experience that we can think of looking at our clinical experience, and then we say, hey, how best can I turn this thing around and make it relevant? Okay, somebody says as house office, I guess we all did it. Yeah, so don't think of it as, oh, no. This is not, as long as it is relevant to the new role that you are going for, please let it reflect. Okay, I think I stopped somewhere. Okay, yeah. So let's do, okay, new share. Let's go back here and share this. Okay, so this is, I'm looking for something that I worked with. Okay, let's go to the second one. This is a CRC, which is, like I said, look at this, look at the responsibility for this CRC role. Again, this is a CRC role that I saw on Indeed today, and it is still very open, so you may want to give it a shot. Link, like I said, is attached, and then I will make all of this available on the platform once this meeting is over. Okay, so so this speaks to some data source documentation and SOP, ICGP, and all of that. This speaks to what? Interacting with, so you coordinate, visit, essentially collect adverse events, monitoring safety, medication. If you can't do all of this, speak to administer questionnaire to patients, speak to sample collection, that is clearly within your domain as a medical doctor. Speak to including, okay, I think this is why I did that. So this is the job posting that led me to phrasing that of you collect sample, you process, and you ship the sample. So I see this job posting, I'm wondering, oh, no. How do I go about this? I'm not going to do everything here. I'm going to pick some keywords and reflect it in my resume. So I think that is, if you look at this highlighted section, sample collection, including processing, shipment, and all of that, that speaks to, where is the slide? Yes, yeah, this one. So that speaks to, or is it here? Yeah, okay. I think, okay, that speaks to the very first one here, sample, specimen processing, achievement of biological specimen, okay? So that is how you look at the job posting, you look at what you are doing, and then you try to reflect that how time fly. So, so okay. So professional summary, again, so in kind of looking at our resume, I would love us to have a format like this where on top you have your name and your address and all of that. Then you have a professional summary. The essence of the professional summary is that it must capture the attention of the reader. You must bring something to bear immediately to stimulate their attention to continue to read. Let's put ourselves in the shoes of recruiters that a typical job posting will return 500 applications. In my experience, folks who are exposed to reading so many documents, they scan, they don't read. I can tell you that for free. They scan. In my days in the university, you scan. When you have 300 scripts to mark, this is not the time to be reading, all the beautiful stories that one student is writing. No, you want to see the point that you want to award the mark for, and that is what you do. So this is the same thing that happens when you have a recruiter, and this is their job. Every day they are faced with two-page document from 500 applicants, and they must find a way to whittle it down. So you don't want this individual in the first 10, 20 seconds to lose interest in your resume. So it is important that you couch a very interesting professional summary. You must capture the attention of the reader with a brief statement of your skills and competency. And I have shown a couple at the beginning of the presentation. You can then move on to talk about relevant skills. You can have a section called relevant skills. The section for relevant skills is all about, again, strengthening the professional summary. So you want the individual to read along. Now, because you are pivoting, you are a physician before, you are going into clinical research administration, you haven't done it before. So you don't have the experience. If they say, okay, you need 2 years of experience or you need 1 year of experience, you don't have that cognate experience as a clinical research associate. Remember, you have the experience as a physician, but you do not have the experience as a clinical research associate. But you can bring to bear your skills. So this is how to go about it. Use words like knowledge of X, Y, Z. So you go back, let's go here. Let me share again. So we are back here. So the first one talks about recruitment of study participants and all of these, obtain informed consent. Okay. As a doctor, maybe you have the capacity, maybe you've done it before, but let's assume that you have not actually obtained an informed consent before. So under skills, you put something like knowledge of obtaining informed consent or familiarity with obtaining informed consent. You are not saying, hey, I've done it like 100 times. You are telling them that I know exactly what to do to execute this. I can do it. But you are saying it in a way that is not, it's not, I've done it severally, I'm an expert in it. And you are also not presenting yourself as, hey, I don't even know what this is all about. So you want to use such words to kind of, this is it. Yeah. All right. So familiar with ability to, so informed consent example again, you can say ability to obtain and inform consent. You are able to do it, yes. Capable of, skilled in, acquainted. So you want to use all of these. By the way, if you have done it before, please flaunt it, brag about it. Don't use these words that I highlighted here. Use expertise in gaining informed consent if you have done it severally. Or if you know you haven't done it, you've not done it before, or it's new to you, but you can do it. You have the competencies, just that you have not been presented with an opportunity to do it. You want to use something like you have the ability to do it, you are skilled in it. Skilled in something is not necessarily hands-on. You can be skilled in it just by watching YouTube video to know how it is done, or by reading literature, or by taking courses to know how it is done. So you can use skilled in it. Skilled. So skilled in, okay, so I have an example right there, skilled in recruiting, screening potential study participants, and gaining signed consent form. Perfect. Okay, so by writing skilled in it, it is even difficult for somebody to know whether you have done it before, several, or it is in your mind that you are doing all the recruiting and the screening. Okay, so then we move from relevant skills to professional work experience. This is now talking about your previous experience, what you have done in the past 7 years, 3 years, 15 years, 2 years, depending on how long you've been at it. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to create each of your work experience bullet point with the job posting in mind. And that is what we have done before, or the examples here. So you look at the job posting, says, oh, you must have attention to detail and something. Think of what you have done in the clinic before that speaks to attention to detail. Then translate it to a statement and that will address the description. So here I have this, perform specimen processing and shipment. Okay, that's the example again that we use. Perform specimen processing and shipment of biological samples, okay? So the third part of, this third panel is the most critical. I don't know, should I even say one is most critical, one is not? Because if you don't do well in your professional summary, probably your resume will hang a trash because this individual has no time to continue to read. He's not impressed. Okay, so but even if you've done a good job on the professional summary, on the relevant skill, you must continue to target the job description. You must continue to target the job posting. Okay. In rounding up, so we can take questions, spent about 56 minutes or thereabout. You also need to, and there are free YouTube videos, there are materials online to get yourself acquainted to some industry softwares and programs. It will take maybe a day or two for you to watch and then you master one of it. RedCap is popularly used or widely used in the industry. I'm sure Flyer can also help me. I know Startup is well used, is an industry software for statistical analysis. Qualtrics is also used. I think it is like an EDC, just like RedCap is an EDC. ClinicalResearch. Please get on YouTube, tons of materials there. You see exactly how it is done. All of these big name programs that you see here, they are less, let me say, they are so simple to use, they are so simple to learn that you'll probably be wondering, is this what I don't know how to really include on your resume? So once you watch the video, do the practice, you are familiar with it, you know the buzzword around it. You can include, yes, somebody, okay, yeah, I thought if Laya said rave. Yes, rave is one of them. I've got a question here from Muideen. Won't listing this responsibility sound a bit out of place with the typical task everyone knows doctor for? Okay, so this is like saying, okay, won't listing these responsibilities sound a bit out of place? Why will it sound out of place with typical tasks everyone knows doctors for? What are the typical? So I think I understand what your question. This is what targeting resume is all about. When we say target your resume, we are not saying bring all your job functions that are not relevant to the role. Tease out your job description. You have your master resume. Your master resume will have all the things that you have done in this world. However, the resume that you are using to apply will only have relevant job experience. Nobody is interested in clinical research, in how you probably, inject a patient, administer IV. We are not interested in all of that because remember, CRA, CRC is more of administering the trial, ensuring that the right things are done, ensuring that protocols is being followed to T. Okay, so don't bother yourself about the fact that, oh, as a medical doctor, I do much more than this. Yes, they know, but that is not what they want you to protect. You must be able to say, you know what, this role, I am more than able to do the job because I have done this, I have done that, I have done. Don't bring the scope of your competence as a physician. That is not what you want to bring to bear here. And that is what targeting resume is all about. Let it speak to the only thing that the job posting is all about. Let your resume speak to the job posting, not the other way around. You must just limit your resume to speak to the competency that the job posting is looking for. Every other thing that is not relevant to the job posting, it is not. I'm going to unmute so we can have a conversation, but before I do that, okay, let me even allow folks to unmute, but hold on, please. I'm going to, where is unmute? Ask all participants to unmute. Okay, yeah, I think I've got a chat. This has been fantastic, Liar. Let me share one more thing. Yeah. Please, can you mute yourself for now, please? Okay, so again, trying to get Muideen to see what we're saying. Look at this role. I told you this role, I got it from Indeed this morning, and this role was posted yesterday. So it's a new role that is still open. This is a responsibility that is required. Don't add more. This is a responsibility that this role requires. Recruitment of study participants. Can you recruit study participants? It's a yes or no thing. You can do much more. We know you can do much more, but the role is not asking for much more. Coordination and execution of study visits as per protocol. You can collect adverse event reports. Okay, so a patient comes around and say, oh, the drug that you prescribed for me last week, I've used it for 5 days, but I noticed X, Y, Z. That is what? If the patient is not enjoying the drug, or there is an adverse reaction, or he's complaining, oh, I'm unable to sleep, or there is a rash on my hand, or I have a headache continuously, you collect adverse event. That is an adverse event collection. As doctors, we don't pay attention to it because, I mean, well, where we come from, it's not a big deal. Nobody is interested in that apart from, okay, it's giving you a headache, change the medication to something else. Please remember that that is collection of adverse events, which is reportable in Canada, for instance. You must report that to Health Canada. Go to Health Canada website. There is a form there. Punch in all your details. You've done your job as a physician. That's all. Collection of adverse events, monitoring safety, medication, questionnaire, sample collection. We've alluded to all of that. So again, within, limit your job description to what has been asked. If you feel you want to show them that you are a medical doctor, which again they can't against you because they know you are a medical doctor, but don't bring it before them to say, hey, I'm a medical doctor. You don't know that I'm just going to take this job and get out of this, in another 3 months. Don't do that. If you present yourself as, this is what I want to do, you're likely going to just toss it away. Glad Paul mentioned something like that you don't want to show them that you are not going to stay. Okay? So what you want to do is just limit to what they want. It is what they want, not what you think I have. What they want is what you must give to them. Right? Okay. Let me stop talking and take a few questions, comment, and maybe provide clarification to some of the things that I said earlier. You can unmute yourself. I think Momo will coordinate. I don't know how to go about this. How do we go about asking the question? Is it in the chat room, or you want to just raise up your hand and say something if you've got any question?
Okay, I've my hands are up. Can I talk?
Yeah, you are talking already.
Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. Though I came in quite late, but I did get one or two things. Okay, I see that the job description here is for CRC. Okay. How about for a CRA job posting? Can we actually adapt a CV, especially to that of a study startup? Startup CRA. Can we actually do that? Because that has more responsibilities than this.
So let me show you. You mentioned that you came in late. This is another CRC role. I intentionally brought it to so that you don't think, oh, okay, look at this one. Is this all I'm going to be doing because I'm a doctor? Okay, so this is another CRC role. What do you think about it? Just take a look at it. And I'm going to scroll a little, right? This is a CRC. I have a link here, right? This is a link, and I'm going to post it on the platform once we are done. This is a CRC role. Came out yesterday. I, copied it on Indeed this morning. Look at it. Again, when you look at all of this, you will see that it is not speaking to the core scientific skills of a medical doctor. So it says perform administrative duty. Here it says handle patient sample with care. Here it says monitor activities and all of that. Ongoing maintenance of site master file document. And so this is all about documentation. This one talks about performing protocol assessment and all of that. This one talks about organized clinical spaces for study equipment. So when you look at the role, it comes clearly, it's obvious that it is administration of clinical research, the administration of clinical research, such that the principal investigator and those that are actually doing the work can be free from, the encumbrances that will not allow them to focus on delivering care or investigating the product that they are meant to work on. Okay, so this is a CRC role. These are the qualifications for it: minimum of bachelor's degree in health sciences and all of that, preference for SOCRA and all of this, minimum of 2 years of experience, and so on and so forth. So you can do that. Kindly unmute me. I think I've asked everybody to unmute themselves. Let me see if I can go back. Where is that? Okay, so Momo, you can unmute yourself. Okay. All right, can you do that now?
Okay. Okay, yeah, I can. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So, guys, I mean, first off, I gotta say, I don't know how we can do like round of applause for you, but I think, Doc, you really kind of hit the nail on the head. I think it just shows that with resumes we have to do more of these kind of sessions whereby we are relating what you did, for example, hospital experience, and then what you have now. I know people have experience in public health, and then how you transition that or pivot that to clinical research. I know people have experience in pharmaceuticals or a pharmacy, community pharmacy, and how you transition that. So I'll try to work with Doctor on this and see how we can do these sessions in a way that we can actually do that very pivoting, because it's very critical. And I wanted to just add a couple of things to what Doctor said. I'm very sure most of the doctors here would agree that now, but just by this session, you will now see that most of the things, Dr. Femi was talking about, as a physician or hospital experienced person, even if, I think you would say that we have done most of these things. It's just that we've not been able to interpret it in this way to relate to clinical research. Because, for example, any doctor, I'm sure every person that's a doctor here, whether you trained in Nigeria or not, if you are taking a patient to theater, for example, like surgery, any procedure, we always take informed consent. So I think we will even say that we are skilled in gaining and collecting informed consent. And that's critical. If you have done your GCP, you see that informed consent is a big deal, right? To go to Linda's question and Muhyiddin's question, I understand where they're coming from. I think it also goes back to what Dr. I'm trying to remember his name. I know he's on the chat, he's on the meet. Dr. Chidubia. I think I can't remember your name now, but I know you mentioned it the last time when we had our session on Wednesday, talking about how do you now say this as a doctor, especially the role. I've also heard a recruiter say we might not necessarily, even IRCC, when you're doing your permanent resident application, they're not so interested in the role. So IRCC gives you a long list of the names of titles you can be in different countries. They don't really know what role or what title you call yourself. But they're not interested in the title, they're interested in the JD, the job description of that your title. So what I'm now beginning to see for clinical research, if we feel that the physician, depending on what you're applying for, if we feel that the physician or medical officer thing would make too much, maybe we'll set off, I don't know how this recruiter will see me or this hiring manager will see me like, this is a doctor. What if they are trying to write their exams and they're just doing this as a transition thing? So you might want to use, I feel, for example, I will say this, most Nigerian doctors, most of us, we all worked under a consultant. I remember one of my friends, we're hoping to bring him on very soon on the Wednesday show. He said one of the things that he didn't even know GCP when he got his first job in clinical research. He got a job in data entry-level role as a data validation specialist. He said, to be honest, Momo, I did not even know what GCP was. Then I was meeting the director from France. The woman was like, you don't know what GCP is? That's strange. And you're applying for a clinical research role. Anyways, they pardoned him because it was an entry-level role. But he said he thinks one thing that sold the woman at that level was because he mentioned that he was a research assistant. And I can say that nearly every doctor, as a house officer, you ran one study for one consultant running up and down. Go and get me this one, pack all those files, look for all the children that had this. I did it as a senior house officer. I did with a lot of consultants. Go and get all the children between 2015 and 2013. I want to know all of them that had retinoblastoma and neuroblastoma. It was an oncologist thing. It was observational, but I have to pitch it now because it was useful back then. So if I don't want to write medical officer or physician, I can write research assistant. It's okay. I don't know. Tell me, what do you think? That's how I feel we can pitch this. You don't even have to write physician. Most of us did these things as house officers or senior house officers or even medical officers. We did one or two. We might not have been the ones doing the major data, but we were involved in either bringing out those files, looking through it as house officer or medical officers for those consultants. That's why I also use that most of the consultants we have back home in Nigeria are PIs. Most of them are doing the role of PIs, just that it is what the studies you see more in Africa are observational or post-market studies. Like when the study is already out there, they are just now looking out for things like key stuff like the symptoms. For example, I worked with HIV with the USCDC and then Global Fund while I was in Nigeria, I constantly had to fill yellow form, pharmacovigilance form. I would bring that to bear in my resume now that I've heard this clearly, because I remember I had to always go and submit to the pharmacy. Once the patient has that issue.
Now, I think I think this is beginning to kind of let you see some of the things that you have.
Yeah.
And many people don't showcase them because we are kind of carried away with the big stuff, right? I have applied for positions before that I only apply with my bachelor's program. I didn't even mention that I have a PhD, right? You don't, it's not everything that you must bring to fore, right? Because saying that I've got a PhD will definitely lock me off the path.
Yes.
Yeah. So I remember I was having conversation with somebody at the point because I said, I don't even know whether this PhD of mine is a curse or a blessing, because
exactly.
I'm looking at some of the roles, you don't need it. I felt it is an advantage. You can say something. If you like that, you don't have it. But the most important thing is show that you are interested and you don't bring all the experience that you got. For folks with 10 years or more experience in the clinic or in the hospital setting, don't bring all of that surgical experience and deputy surgeon or something. No. Just put it down and speak to the basic of what the job entails, because if you are overqualified, like we said on the hangout of Wednesday.
Use your earphones.
Yeah.
If you are overqualified.
Sorry, guys, you can mute your mic. Dr. Kayode.
Yeah, I have to mute everybody. So if you bring in and I recall very fondly now, if you are overqualified, just take it that they will see it and they are likely not going to take you, because definitely they feel like you are using it as a stepping stone. That you are going to spend 3 months or 4 months. It is at the point when they should be recouping from the investment of training you that you don't want to show that. Let that be in your home mind. Let it be in your mind, not what you wear on the face for your employer to see that, hey, I'm going to port in the next few moments. Okay. So any question, comments? Lyle, you there? It's 5:15. We've got to round up in another 10 minutes or so. So let me unmute everybody again. I don't even know how I got to this unmute. Okay. Yes. Okay. So you can unmute yourself, Lyle or Momo. You can unmute yourself.
Okay. Yeah, we have many hands up. Ayodele. So let's just follow it. Wait. Ayodele is there. Oh, where's Ayodele? Okay, Linda, you can throw your question. Fulayo might wrap it up. But I saw Ayodele's hands. So when he stepped out of the room, when he comes back. So guys, okay, anybody that has questions can just raise up your hand and then we'll just follow that list. So Linda, you can shoot. Okay, Muhyiddin has a question. Okay. Tolu has a question. Okay. Because I expected the questions to come. All right, so you can go ahead. Let's start with Linda. Linda, you can shoot. You can unmute yourself and share your question or comment.
Linda, let me find Linda and ask her to unmute. Okay, yeah, Linda, you can unmute.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Thank
you very much for the informative session. My question is mainly, okay, you made mention of work experience, the profile or professional summary. So my question is, since we've done the profile or professional summary, do we still need to put in highlights of qualification? And secondly, when we do involve the work experience, do we just write under work experience? Let's say, for instance, medical officer, or whatever, or clinical research, you write down, what if you've worked for 2 or 3 places, you worked in 2 or 3 places, do you still put the same thing in each of them, or just write a work experience quite different, then write out the names of these institutions that you worked in? Or let's use I worked in.
Okay, Linda. Thank you for the question. So you have different terminologies that people use for these sections on their resume. You've got people, sometimes they will use just like, I think, let me just, this particular resume that is on the screen. So here, this individual use profile, and I know that the other one that I showed earlier, I'm trying to go back there. Yeah, this individual use professional summary. It's just about semantics. I prefer to use professional summary as a headline for this section. It's just a preference as an individual. You can use profile if you like. Okay? The same thing goes for highlight of qualifications. And what people put under highlight of qualifications sometimes, it's all everything. It's a portfolio of things. Some will even highlight, present that be under highlight of qualification. I don't even personally like highlight of qualification. I want to speak to my skills. That attracts the reader, the hiring manager, and highlight of qualification. Too many words, not saying very verbose. It's not powerful. Just go straight and just talk about, okay, you know what? These are my skills. And the reason why I advise for us to use skills or all of that is because we are changing roles. If I'm not changing roles, I'm CRA in Nigeria and I'm here, I will only have profile, and then I'll jump to work experience. I won't have skills section, because in my profile will be so rich that they will know that this person is experienced in it. And from your work experience, they will see that, oh, you've got 4 years of experience as a clinical research associate, you've got 3, you've got 5, So I won't put skills. But because we are pivoting, we are changing roles, I quickly want the individual to see that I know what I am doing. I know what is needed in the industry. Even though I haven't worked in the industry like a CRA before, I have those skills and I can show you, I can demonstrate. That is why I will recommend that after the professional profile, professional summary of profile, we want to have that section of skills. Let me also mention that this is not where you list 15 skills. Please limit it to a maximum of 7. If you can't do 5 to 7, it has to speak to the job. It has to be something that they will look at it and they will nod their head. There is a way you read something and oh, this person knows what he's talking about. This is not where you're talking about, your experience in the surgery. Mama mentioned pharmacovigilance form now. This is where you quickly want to throw that in to say, hey, I know this or I've done this before. This is where you want to quickly talk about the fact that you have gained informed consent. You have expertise in it as a medical doctor, right? This is where you want to quickly put all of that in bullet points, 1 line per bullet. This is not a post. 1 line per bullet, and it speaks to the job that you are applying for. I think that answers your question.
Thank you very much. The second one is actually for the cover letter. Do we still move this same thing to the cover letter?
Okay, so cover letter is a beast on its own. You don't want to use the same thing that you have used in your cover letter. So for instance, you are pivoting. What I will do in my cover letter is to say, hey, I'm a doctor, or I have experience in the hospital setting doing X, Y, Z. But please don't use exactly the same terminologies or job description that they are, because you are simply rehashing the same thing. Why are you copying what is into the cover letter? Use a cover letter to say, hey, I have this experience. that's what we call, that's the first paragraph. Second paragraph, which is the main body of your cover letter, that is where you tell them, okay, I'm still at gaining informed consent. I have done X, Y, Z, and I can do it for your organization. You must do a connection that is, I have this skill, I've used it before, I can continue to use it in your organization, but it has to be skill that is needed in that role, right?
Okay.
So that is how cover letter is written. Tell them in prose, tell them how you have used something. Oh, I work in a team, we had this and this and that. I was able to manage the process. I convinced you can't do that in the resume. You cannot be writing story of I convinced somebody, I did this, it led to that. Cover letter is where you write the deep story of how you acted on something, how you did something that led to, productive end for the organization.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, next. Too much hand. Who is next so I can ask to unmute? Yeah, okay, so we will have copies of this CV. Yeah, we can make that possible. Yeah. Okay, Linda, I think has spoken. Momo, are you there? So Muideen, right? Muideen is the next person. So to look for Muideen. And Muideen, can you unmute yourself? Is it okay? Mo, yeah. All right, Muideen, I think you can unmute now.
Okay, hello, can you hear me?
Clearly.
Thank you so much. In fact, I wish I had this, I joined this meeting about maybe 2 weeks ago, because networking is very important. And through my network on LinkedIn, somebody introduced me to a senior person in Innovadam. They're a clinical research company in Montreal, and he agreed to talk to me. So we had a meeting, and in the talk, I was so unsure of myself, because I keep feeling that these are not the skills I have. So at the end, I could tell that, he wasn't so convinced.
Yeah.
Somebody who agreed with me in the first place to speak to me, he told me in the chat that, oh, I think you'd be a good fit for this job and everything. But at the end of the meeting, he didn't sound so sure anymore. So, and it was because I didn't know some of these things that you're just saying right now. So second thing is, where do you draw the line sometimes when you're writing a resume between some of those things you can do? Sometimes when you're writing a resume, you feel like, this thing I'm writing, are you sure you can do these things? So you're over, like it almost be as if you are lying to yourself sometimes. So where do you draw that line? And then the lastly is that, did we talk about interviews at all during this session?
Okay, thank you, Muideen. Let me start from the rear. We didn't talk about interview because that's another piece. You don't get interview when your resume is, all over the place.
Okay.
People don't get interview when their resume is not speaking what is needed, what the hiring manager is in. So the first stage is, okay, you know what? Get your resume sorted out such that you can be at an interview. You can get a call for the interview. Interview is a beast on its own, the do's and don'ts and all of those things. But most often, interview is not the problem. It is scaling. If you don't get shortlisted, you don't get interview. So the rate limiting step, first and foremost for every job, is to get your resume shortlisted. And so that's where we are dealing with that at the moment. Your second question leads to where we draw line, if I remember very well, between what I would say the falsification or, what in advertisement is called offering, like you are embellishing it, you don't even know which one is true and which one is not true again.
Yes.
What I would say is there are things that you have done. Let me give you an example. Most often, because we are professionals, we describe our role in such a general term that when we sit down and actually count the steps that led to consummating that activity, we see that we actually have a lot more going for it. Let me give you an example. If you are to typically, what can I used to, because I have background in athletics and used to be a lecturer. So I use this example that if I am to teach a class, all I will put in my resume typically is taught XYZ courses to so students. But if I'm to take a cursory look at that activity, I need to teach a class, I need to sit down and do and draw up my, what's it called, teaching plan, perhaps. I need to identify my learning objective and setting out these are the learning objectives for the class. I need to prepare my lecture notes. I need to do my slide. I need to get class on time, and I need to present the lecture. I need to communicate with students. I must be able to answer their questions. The one I don't know, I tell them, guys, I don't have an answer to this. I'm going to come back to you next class with an answer. I need to examine the students. I need to be able to. This is all of this summed up under thought XYZ point. The same thing is in every profession. You need to sit down, look at every job description that we just seemingly write off like one item. Let's take a look. We are on this is a resume for us now. Let's use that around. Okay, so we have whichever one, which one. So let's look at this very first one on top. Is that took health assessment of individual to identify infectious diseases such as tuberculosis and so on and so forth, and filled out the electronic medical forms. Okay, I bet if you ask this individual to sit down and narrate how this activity is actually executed, there will be more than 2 or 3 steps that led to this, or that will be that are involved.
Yes.
To do an health assessment of individuals. You just use this word. Look at this word, health assessment. Looks like something that you just press a button to do. Is that it? No.
It's more than that.
To go to this statement of health assessment of individual to identify. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying. So that is how we need to sit down, look at these things, and then be able to tease out what we need. So I'm not going to encourage you saying you have done something when you have not done it. Recall that I said, if you don't know something, go online, read it, watch videos, and then don't come on your resume to say, hey, I have an expert in this. Rather, phrase it as, I have knowledge in this. I'm familiar with this. I know how to do it. I know how to do something is different from I have done it very well, or I've got an award in doing this before. I think that would be my submission. Does that answer your question? No, maybe he's muted again. Okay, let's see. Mama, you have the floor.
Yeah, so I think there's still people, raising up their hands. Okay, okay, we've answered Muhyiddin's question.
Let's take 2 more.
Yeah.
We can.
Okay, is there any other person? I think Tolu has dropped her hands. Okay, her hand is up. I think Fulayo is raising up her hand, but I know she's probably going to wrap up anyways. I just wanted to say that someone asked the question. You can also unmute Fulayo. Someone asked the question, Femi. I think she dropped off, but she said, it got mixed up. That's Ayodele. She said what she was asking was, she felt this was majorly dwelt on the coordinator role. how do you think you can translate this to the CRA role?
No. Yeah, she asked the question, and I think I've addressed the question. It's the same thing.
Okay, the same
Just
thing.
look at the job posting. Okay, I think, okay, maybe I'm mixing it up. Somebody said this, because I should do CRC role, this one. So this is the responsibility. I mean, and that's the job posting. I'm not the one who made it up. And now this is another CRC role, and look at what is there. Can you imagine? Look at what is there, even for a CRC role. So the point is, it is the same thing. The difference between a CRC and a CRA largely is that most often CRA are representing the sponsors, while CRCs are in-house. Most often CRCs are the one on site. They are localized. CRCs don't go from one site to another. They are usually at site A, and they ensure that the trial at site A is conducted based on protocol, right? Adhere to protocol and every other thing. The job of a CRA is one that moves from one site to site to ensure that the trials are conducted based on protocol. Both of them are doing the same thing. The only difference is that one has a local boss to report to, the other one has a global boss to report to over many sites. That is the major difference, and I think maybe Fulayo can also. Fulayo, I think I'll ask you to unmute yourself. Please, can you put the job link in the chat? Unfortunately, I can't do that because, okay, let me see if I can copy it here, because I thought I would just, okay.
So Femi, can you unmute Fulayo? She has not been able to be, she cannot be unmuted or something.
I asked her to unmute, and okay, let me do that again.
Okay, so that Fulayo, you get the pop-up on your screen, and then you just unmute yourself.
So, okay, one moment. I'm having so many that somebody asked, so I'll put one of it there. Oh, this should go to everyone. Sorry, one moment. Don't even. Okay, so that is that. So let me unmute Funlayo. I bet everybody to even unmute. I don't know why this thing is still.
Yeah, so I think maybe because of this.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, she can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you guys. Dr. Femi, thank you so much. I actually think we need to release Dr. Femi right now. This is 1 hour, 30 minutes from his lovely ladies at home. So I know we have questions, but I think we should continue this conversation by chat. I also want to say that the issue of job title, I wanted to mention something on job title, that you can also be flexible with job title if you can back it up. You can be flexible with job title if it reflects what the job title is here in Canada. You can be, because you can always get a backup back at home. So I guess that's all I wanted to say. Sorry, I had to raise my hand many times. So I don't know if you permit me, Dr. Momo, you want to do a roundup or yeah. I wanted to say something, please, call of action within 24 hours, please sit down and think through this. Make this knowledge usable knowledge. If not, it's going to go. And it's applicable to all CTA roles, everything. Once you sit down on the job description, critical thinking will come into place, and then you can find the relevance to what you have done before. Thank you, Dr. Femi, for this.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so Dr. Femi, thank you so much for this. I mean, I'm actually amazed because I've actually seen some of my friends on LinkedIn. I saw Haley in here. I saw Pushpa. I mean, it's amazing that where these sessions are going really far and wide, obviously. So it means we're doing something right. I'll just say that I would, behind the scenes, I think we would also talk about that. I know that people have said, we have to find a way, because this is the most practical way you can explain how you can do those pivotings, right? As a CRA, and then to the CRC, you can do those pivoting and across board. So for doctors who have first degrees, I'll say you're at an advantage because it's for certain roles you don't have to even bring up. Yeah, we're writing up, but yeah, you don't have to bring out your MBBS and all that, so you can just use those. You can use those first degrees. So what I'll say is that we would work on a resume session that includes like those who have MBAs, those who have PharmDs, BSc Pharm, MSc, MPH, so that we can see how we can do that and then link it to maybe specific roles, especially entry-level roles, since 80% of the group are trying to get into the industry. I don't know, Femi, Flyer, what do you think? I think that's where we're going to be going with the resume sessions as we go along. And then maybe one of these days we talk about cover letters. I know there's also something in the works for one of these days we talk about interviews. And then we should follow up with the call to action from Flyer. So I think that's it, Flyer, from my end. And I think we could actually close the session for today. And then we can always ask more questions in the WhatsApp group or LinkedIn group anyhow. So we can, we can also like take these feedbacks and then, plan better for the next session or something. So I'll know where people's minds are, where their heads set up, right? Okay. So Fulayo, you want to close?
Yeah, I think we've closed already. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so guys, we'll close. We'll have recordings. We'll have the recordings out. Okay. We'll have the recordings out. All right, guys.
Bye.
All right. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Oh my God.
Why are you laughing?
Yes, you need buttons. Okay.